I think the week of August 3rd to 7th on Beyond the Gates is shaping up to be one of those weeks where almost every major storyline takes a dramatic turn. From murder schemes and family investigations to romantic decisions and long-buried secrets, it feels like the show is setting up several storylines that could have lasting consequences. The biggest mystery continues to revolve around Haley Hamilton and her apparent determination to get rid of Bill Hamilton. To me, it no longer looks like she's simply waiting for an opportunity. She seems willing to adjust her plan whenever circumstances change. Bill is expected to receive a strange health update early in the week, and I can't help but wonder whether it's part of Haley's scheme or just an unexpected complication that works in her favor. At the same time, Bill's daughters aren't letting anything slide. Naomi Hawthorne continues digging for answers, while Chelsea Hamilton tries to gather information by speaking with Bill's assistant, Caroline Lee. Their suspicion of Haley keeps growing, and whatever Haley does early in the week is apparently shocking enough to convince them they're on the right track. The investigation doesn't stop there. Catherine "Cat" Richardson also tries to recruit Tomas Navarro to help expose what's really happening. Whether Tomas agrees remains to be seen, but his decision could become an important turning point if the family hopes to uncover the truth before it's too late. As the week progresses, Bill finds himself facing yet another medical emergency. This time, Caroline is reportedly the only person around to help him. That immediately raises questions. If Haley truly gets exactly what she wants by the end of the week, as the spoilers suggest, I wonder if Bill's life could be hanging by a thread. It certainly feels like the show wants viewers to believe the danger has reached its highest point. Meanwhile, Kat continues pursuing another lead by secretly watching Randy Parker. Combined with Danny Dupree saying something that leaves Randy visibly shaken, it seems the Dupree women may finally be closing in on the truth behind Haley and Randy's alliance. Whether they have enough evidence to stop them is another story entirely. Another interesting development is the return of Heather Armstrong, Joey Armstrong's sister. Her arrival could shake up several relationships, especially since she appears eager to become friendly with both Vanessa McBride and Danny. New faces often bring unexpected drama, so I'm curious to see whether Heather has her own agenda or simply becomes caught in everyone else's conflicts. The hospital storyline also reaches a major crossroads. After weeks of uncertainty, Nicole Dupree is finally expected to make her choice between Dr. Carlton Fitzgerald and Dr. Kyle Rollins. I get the feeling that Anita Dupree grows tired of Nicole delaying the inevitable and pushes her daughter to make a final decision. That pressure only intensifies when Leslie Thomas publicly criticizes Nicole in front of Carlton. Leslie's constant insults and attempts to humiliate Nicole could end up backfiring, possibly convincing Nicole that it's finally time to stop living in uncertainty and commit to one path. By Friday, Nicole and Carlton reportedly reach a new understanding, while Kyle is left stunned by a dramatic change in his relationship with Nicole. Based on those spoilers, it certainly sounds like Nicole finally chooses one direction, although the exact outcome remains under wraps. Elsewhere, Eva Thomas receives devastating news that could completely change her future. I was wondering if this could involve her health, although the spoilers don't confirm exactly what happens. Whatever the news is, it creates serious conflict between Leslie Thomas and Ted Richardson, suggesting they have very different ideas about how to handle the situation. Ted is also expected to comfort one of his daughters before the week ends. It isn't entirely clear whether that daughter is Eva or Kat, but either possibility suggests the Richardson family is about to face another emotional crisis. Another storyline to watch involves Isaiah Hawthorne, who receives advice from Jacob Hawthorne that changes his outlook. The spoilers don't reveal what they're discussing, but it could involve family matters, Eva's situation, or another personal struggle that's been building over recent weeks. Perhaps the most intriguing teaser of all involves Andre Richardson. His past is finally catching up with him, forcing him to reach out to Bradley Smitty Smith for help. That immediately makes me think there's something significant Andre has been trying to leave behind. The spoilers hint that someone from Andre's past, possibly an old relationship or even a stalker, may suddenly reappear. If that's true, the consequences could extend far beyond Andre himself and potentially put serious strain on his marriage to Danny. At this point, it's still speculation, but it definitely feels like the writers are preparing a storyline that could become one of the show's biggest mysteries moving forward. Overall, I think this week is balancing suspense, romance, family conflict, and emotional drama exceptionally well. Between Haley's dangerous scheme against Bill, Nicole's long-awaited romantic decision, Eva's heartbreaking news, and Andre's mysterious past resurfacing, nearly every major family in Fairmont Crest appears headed for a major turning point. Whether these storylines unfold exactly as the spoilers suggest remains to be seen, but the week certainly looks packed with twists that could reshape several lives. I think Monday's Beyond the Gates episode looks like it's setting up several storylines that could explode over the next few episodes. From my perspective, everyone seems to be making risky moves, and some characters may be getting far more confident than they should. The biggest storyline centers on Catherine "Cat" Richardson. After everything that happened in Friday's episode, Cat decides to investigate Randy Parker herself. I understand why she wants answers, but I was wondering if she realizes just how dangerous Randy really is. To me, he isn't someone who gets caught off guard easily. Randy has proven himself to be a loyal henchman, which means Kat's investigation could easily backfire if she isn't extremely careful. At the same time, Kat won't be the only person making quiet moves. Mona Wilson is also busy working her own angle as she approaches Joey Armstrong. I think this could go in a couple of different directions. Maybe she's trying to convince Joey to support a charitable cause, or perhaps she wants to pressure him about Randy's job. Since Mona has always believed Randy is capable of being a better person, I wouldn't be surprised if she tries convincing Joey to give him a different position instead of keeping him involved in dangerous business. Whether Joey actually listens is another question entirely. Meanwhile, Bill Hamilton is about to confide in someone unexpected, and that immediately raises a lot of questions. I was wondering who could possibly become his confidant. Could it be Tomas Navarro? If so, maybe Bill finally admits he had a one-night stand with Kat's aunt. Another possibility is Caroline Lee, although I think that would feel incredibly unprofessional considering she works for him. Either way, Bill opening up to someone suggests he's carrying more guilt and pressure than he's been willing to admit. Elsewhere, Danny Dupree, Anita Dupree, and Vanessa McBride come together to compare notes. To me, it feels obvious their conversation revolves around Haley Hamilton. Rumors have been building that Haley could be cheating on Bill, and with everyone already questioning her motives, it makes sense that these three women would start putting the pieces together. I think this conversation could become an important turning point if they discover something that confirms their suspicions. Haley also finds herself facing Naomi Hawthorne and Chelsea Hamilton once again. Their relationship has been tense ever since Bill's medical emergency, especially after the confrontation at the spa. Things only became more hostile during the previous week, forcing Bill to step in and ask his daughters to leave his home. This time, however, Haley is expected to surprise both Naomi and Chelsea. I think there are two ways this could play out. She might genuinely do something thoughtful that catches everyone off guard, making them question whether they've judged her too harshly. On the other hand, this surprise could involve behavior that looks suspicious and adds even more fuel to the growing belief that she's hiding something. Personally, I think the second option seems more likely, but I could be wrong. The biggest reason I lean that way is because the storyline surrounding Haley appears to be approaching its breaking point. Her alleged plan to eliminate Bill has been hanging over the story for a while, and I don't think the writers will keep it secret much longer. It feels like the walls are beginning to close in, and every conversation, every suspicious glance, and every unexpected encounter is pushing the truth closer to the surface. Overall, I think Monday's episode is less about delivering massive reveals and more about positioning every major player for the dramatic fallout that seems inevitable. Kat's investigation, Bill's unexpected confession, the growing scrutiny of Haley, and the Dupree family's suspicions all feel like pieces of a much larger puzzle. If these storylines continue building at this pace, Fairmont Crest could be headed toward one of its most explosive weeks yet. I've been waiting for Haley's plan to kill Bill to completely blow up in her face for what feels like months, and judging by the preview for next week's Beyond the Gates, that moment may have finally arrived. Of course, this is a soap, so nothing is ever guaranteed, but I have a feeling Haley's luck could be running out. One of the most interesting storylines has to be Mona facing Joey in a high-stakes poker game, supposedly playing for Randy Parker's soul. Personally, I don't think it's just about his soul. To me, it feels like Mona is also fighting for Randy's heart, which raises the emotional stakes even higher. I'm curious to see whether this game is more symbolic than literal, or if it changes Randy's future in a major way. Meanwhile, Naomi, Chelsea, and Kat are finally starting to connect the dots about Haley. They've begun questioning whether she's some kind of black widow, and honestly, I can understand why. Haley has left chaos everywhere she goes, so it seems like the people around her are finally seeing her for who she really is. The preview hints that Danny may be the one to expose everything. With Vanessa standing beside her, Danny tells Anita that it looks like Haley has been cheating on Bill. If that's true, the fallout could be enormous. Anita's reaction says it all when she suddenly declares that her massage can wait. That tells me whatever she's about to hear is serious enough to demand her full attention. At the same time, Haley unexpectedly shows up at Naomi's door. I'm really wondering what brings her there. Is she trying to defend herself, manipulate Naomi, or stay one step ahead before the truth comes out? With Haley, there's usually an agenda behind every move, so I'm expecting this confrontation to be anything but friendly. On the romance front, it seems Nicole may finally be ready to choose between the men pursuing her. After Shanice and Ted openly declared their love, Nicole appears ready to listen to her own heart. Carlton confidently offers her comfort and affection, but it's Kyle's touch that clearly gets Nicole's attention. Even Carlton notices the difference, and I think that moment could speak louder than any words. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but it certainly feels like Nicole's heart has already made its decision. Then there's Leslie, who continues doing what she does best, stirring up trouble. Her shocking comment that Daddy's getting laid by darling Nikki at the Comfort Inn and Suites instantly raises 100 questions. Knowing Leslie, she rarely drops information without expecting it to create maximum chaos, so I'll definitely be watching to see where this revelation leads. Another storyline that caught my attention involves Smitty and Martin sitting down with their son Tyrell for a serious conversation about college. They're frustrated because he doesn't seem to be taking his future seriously. Tyrell, however, believes that now that he's 18, he can make his own decisions. I understand wanting independence, but in soap operas, those kinds of declarations usually come right before life teaches someone a very hard lesson. I have a feeling Tyrell may be heading toward one of those moments. Finally, Anita appears to be struggling with a serious case of writer's block. She sits at the piano looking completely frustrated, unable to create the music that normally comes so naturally to her. It may seem like a quieter storyline compared to the others, but sometimes these emotional struggles become the foundation for much bigger character developments. I'm interested to see whether this creative block is simply temporary, or a sign that Anita is carrying emotional burdens she hasn't dealt with yet. Overall, next week looks packed with possible betrayals, confrontations, romance, family conflict, and emotional breakthroughs. Whether Haley's web of lies finally unravels, Nicole follows her heart, or Tyrell learns a difficult lesson. I think these episodes have the potential to push several major storylines into exciting new territory. I think this episode really starts with one simple question. Where do Bill's priorities actually lie? After Haley throws his daughters out of the house, everyone is forced to pick a side, and it feels like the family is moving closer to an all-out war. Bill tries to calm things down by making it clear that Haley's actions can't simply be ignored. At the same time, Haley argues that she was the one being disrespected inside her own home. To me, that's where things become complicated. She may feel justified, but kicking Bill's daughters out was always going to create an even bigger divide. Danny is immediately ready to defend her daughters, exactly as you would expect. Interestingly, though, the girls are the ones trying to hold her back. They know Bill's health is fragile, and they don't want another explosive confrontation pushing him into another medical crisis. Even with their concerns, Danny decides she has to confront Bill face to face. The confrontation is intense. Danny storms into the house without noticing that her sunglasses slip out of her purse. She tells Bill that his daughters must always come first, no matter what. Before leaving, she delivers one final line that really stood out to me, reminding him that dying is simply not allowed while she's around. It's classic Danny, emotional, protective, and impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Haley continues moving down a much darker path. Her meeting with Randy at Uptown confirms that this isn't just frustration or anger anymore. Randy provides more of the mysterious serum, and together they openly discuss speeding up the plan to make Haley a widow. The fact that Haley wants everything to happen during a Caribbean trip is especially chilling because she believes fewer medical examinations would make the death appear more natural. If that plan succeeds, Bill may never realize the danger he's actually living with. At the same time, Kat, Naomi, and Chelsea continue trying to figure out exactly who Randy is. None of them can shake the feeling that something about him doesn't add up. They even begin wondering if Randy might secretly be Haley's lover. I think that theory is probably pointing in the wrong direction, but it does show how suspicious Haley's behavior has become. Kat decides the only way to find answers is through some discreet investigation. Bill later visits Chelsea and Naomi to discuss the tension surrounding surprise visits to the house. He asks them to call before stopping by so everyone's boundaries are respected. Unsurprisingly, they aren't thrilled when they discover the request originated with Haley. Even so, they eventually agree, although it hardly feels like the underlying issues have been resolved. Elsewhere, Joey finds himself distracted by Heather. He can't stop wondering what she really wants beyond getting involved in his business. Vanessa manages to pull his attention away with a kiss, but their private moment is interrupted when Deanna accidentally walks in. Rather than creating a scene, Deanna quietly backs away and pretends she saw nothing. Later, Joey proudly talks about how much money the casino is making. But Deanna isn't impressed. She bluntly calls him cold-hearted for celebrating profits while other people are losing everything. Her reaction feels understandable given her own experiences, and Vanessa immediately insists that Deanna apologize for speaking so harshly. After apologizing, Deanna admits that discussions about gambling are personally triggering and leaves. She ends up at Orphe Jean's, where she unexpectedly runs into Randy. We then see a revealing flashback showing Joey previously asking Randy to get close to Doug's daughter. That completely changes how I viewed Randy's interaction with Deanna. What initially seemed like a coincidence suddenly looks much more calculated. However, another twist makes things even more interesting. Kat also arrives at the diner and spots Randy hugging Deanna. Since she's already investigating Randy because of his connection to Haley, this only fuels her suspicions. From Kat's perspective, Randy now seems connected to multiple people at the center of the drama. Back at Bill and Haley's house, Haley discovers Danny's forgotten sunglasses. For a moment, it looks like she's about to smash them in anger. Instead, she chooses a more psychological approach by texting Danny, "So not my style, stay out of my house." Ironically, the message has the opposite effect. Danny, who is spending time with Vanessa, simply laughs it off. She enjoys knowing she has gotten under Haley's skin, making Haley appear even more rattled than before. Kat's investigation takes another important step when she casually asks Deanna about her mysterious new friend. Once she learns his name is Randy, everything starts connecting in her mind. Realizing he's linked to Haley as well, Kat decides to remain at the diner and keep watching. The final reveal may be the most surprising of all. Joey calls Randy and tells him that he no longer needs to get close to Deanna. Randy's reaction says everything. Rather than disappointment, he looks genuinely relieved. To me, that suggests his growing friendship with Deanna became real despite the original assignment. Whether those feelings stay genuine or become another source of heartbreak remains to be seen. Looking ahead, it seems suspicion will continue spreading throughout the community. From what the preview suggests, people may jump to completely wrong conclusions about Haley. Whether those assumptions help uncover the truth or simply create even more chaos is something we'll have to wait and see. I could be right or wrong, but it feels like the real conspiracy is still hiding beneath the surface, and Randy may ultimately become the key to exposing it. The latest Beyond the Gates promo for the week of August 3rd to 7th gave me a lot to think about. It looks like the show is setting up multiple storylines to collide, and if these scenes are any indication, Fairmont Crest is about to get even more chaotic. One of the biggest surprises for me was seeing Mona Wilson at Joey Armstrong's casino. Joey casually asks her what she's playing for, but Mona's response immediately changes the mood. She says she's playing for Randy Parker's soul. That's a powerful line, and it's paired with a flashback of Mona gently touching Randy's hand at Orphe Jeans. I can't help but wonder if this is meant to symbolize that Randy is heading toward a major crossroads. Maybe Mona sees something in him that no one else does, or perhaps she's about to become much more involved in his future than we expected. Meanwhile, Danny Dupree appears ready to stir the pot once again. She's at the country club telling Anita Dupree and Vanessa McBride that she believes Haley Hamilton is cheating on Bill Hamilton. Considering Danny's own complicated romantic history, I couldn't help but think there's a little irony in her making that accusation. Whether she's right or simply jumping to conclusions remains to be seen, but Anita's immediate decision to postpone her massage tells me this conversation is about to become the hottest gossip session in town. Not long after that, Haley unexpectedly visits Chelsea Hamilton and Naomi Hawthorne. I'm curious about the reason behind this meeting. It could be an honest attempt to clear the air, but knowing soap operas, these conversations rarely end peacefully. I have a feeling this encounter could easily create even more tension instead of resolving old conflicts. The storyline that really caught my attention, though, involves Nicole Dupree. First, she's seen embracing Dr. Carlton Fitzgerald in her office. When she asks for a rain check, Carlton reassures her that she can always rest in his arms. At first glance, it feels like they're growing emotionally closer. However, things quickly become much more complicated. Later that same day, Nicole is seen hugging Dr. Kyle Rollins near the hospital elevators, and Carlton witnesses the entire moment. Whether that hug is completely innocent or not may not even matter, because appearances can be incredibly damaging. Carlton clearly doesn't like what he sees, and that misunderstanding could have lasting consequences. Then Leslie Thomas throws gasoline on the fire with a shocking claim, saying that Daddy is getting laid by darling Nikki at the Comfort Inn Suites. Whether Leslie actually knows the truth or is simply trying to create chaos is still unclear to me. Either way, rumors like that have a way of spreading fast in Fairmont Crest. The promo even shows Nicole attempting to speak with Carlton at the country club, only for him to walk away from her. That reaction suggests the damage may already be done before Nicole even has a chance to explain herself. Another emotional storyline centers on Tyrell Richardson and his parents. Martin Richardson makes it clear that he doesn't want Tyrell taking college lightly, insisting that his son shouldn't coast through this important chapter of life. Tyrell, however, has reached his breaking point. Frustrated with everyone telling him what to do, he reminds both of his fathers that he's now 18 years old before storming away. I think this conflict feels very realistic. Tyrell wants the freedom to make his own decisions, while his parents are trying to protect him from making costly mistakes. The challenge is finding the balance between guidance and independence, and that won't be easy for any of them. The promo closes on a much quieter but emotionally powerful moment. Anita Dupree sits down at the piano, but instead of finding comfort in the music, she becomes frustrated and slams her hands down in defeat. Watching from the top of the staircase, Vernon Dupree looks genuinely worried. To me, this final scene may end up being one of the most significant moments of the week. Anita's struggle at the piano seems to represent something much deeper than simple frustration. Whether it's connected to her health, her confidence, or emotional pain she's been trying to hide, I think the show is hinting that Anita is facing a challenge she can no longer ignore. Overall, the August 3rd to 7th promo packs plenty of drama into a short amount of time. Between Mona's mysterious intentions, Danny's accusations, Nicole's complicated relationships, Tyrell's growing rebellion, and Anita's heartbreaking struggle, I think every major family is heading toward another emotional turning point. I could be wrong, but this looks like one of those weeks where misunderstandings, secrets, and personal conflicts all collide, leaving lasting consequences for everyone involved. I think this preview for Beyond the Gates during the week of August 3rd to 7th packs a surprising amount of drama into just a few scenes. At first glance, some moments almost seem lighthearted, but the more I watched, the more I realized nearly every storyline hints at bigger conflicts waiting to explode. The biggest surprise to me is Mona Wilson deciding she can beat Joey Armstrong at his own game. Joey owns the casino, so challenging him in poker sounds like a losing battle before the first card is even dealt. But Mona has always been portrayed as someone whose faith gives her incredible determination, and she believes she can make the impossible happen. When Joey asks what they're playing for, Mona's answer completely changes the tone of the scene. She isn't gambling for money or pride. She wants Randy Parker's soul. That tells me this isn't really about poker at all. It's about saving Randy from the dangerous path he's been following under Joey's influence. Whether Randy even wants to be rescued is another question entirely. From what we've seen, Mona probably doesn't know just how dangerous Randy can be. And I was wondering if that lack of knowledge could eventually put her in serious danger. Another storyline that immediately caught my attention involves Danny. She believes Haley is cheating on Bill and wastes no time sharing her suspicions with Anita. Anita's reaction is just as dramatic, instantly telling Danny and Vanessa to come with her before even finishing her massage. To me, that suggests Anita is preparing either for a private strategy session or a direct confrontation. Either option could create even more chaos. The tension continues when Haley unexpectedly shows up at Naomi's home. Naomi's sarcastic remark, essentially saying, "Speak of the devil," makes it obvious Haley isn't exactly welcome. Chelsea also questions why she's there, which makes the entire visit feel uncomfortable from the moment Haley walks through the door. I think whatever Haley has to say, it's unlikely anyone in that room is ready to hear it. Nicole's complicated love life also appears ready to become an even bigger mess. For a while, it looked like Kyle had become the center of her attention, but Carlton clearly isn't ready to give up. He offers Nicole comfort, suggesting she rest in his arms, only to receive a polite rain check. Moments later, Carlton watches Nicole leaving the hospital in Kyle's embrace. I didn't realize the show was setting up such a direct emotional collision, but seeing Carlton witness that moment firsthand makes the situation much more painful. As if that wasn't enough, the weekly spoilers suggest Leslie publicly exposes Nicole's romance with an explosive accusation involving darling Nikki. Whether Leslie has the full story or is simply stirring up trouble, I think her interference could make an already complicated relationship even more difficult to repair. Meanwhile, the Smith-Richardson family faces a very different kind of conflict. Tyrell has been spending nearly all of his time with his girlfriend, creating distance between himself and his parents. When Martin confronts him about college, insisting he won't coast through school, Tyrell completely loses his patience. His response isn't just teenage frustration. It sounds like someone desperate to be treated as an adult. I may be wrong, but this feels less like an argument about grades and more like a family struggling to let go, while Tyrell fights for his independence. The preview ends on a quieter but emotional note, with Anita sitting at the piano while Vernon watches with concern. After all the shouting and confrontations, this scene feels especially significant. Music has always represented an important part of Anita's identity, so seeing her struggle to reconnect with it suggests an emotional journey that's far from over. Sometimes the quietest moments reveal the deepest pain, and I think this scene may end up carrying more emotional weight than any of the louder confrontations shown throughout the preview. Overall, I think this week's episodes are building several major storylines at once. Mona's risky poker challenge, the growing suspicion surrounding Haley, Nicole's complicated romantic triangle, Tyrell's struggle for independence, and Anita's emotional battle all seem poised to collide in different ways. Some of these conflicts may find resolution, but others feel like they're only just beginning, making this look like one of the more emotionally layered weeks for Beyond the Gates. I think Monday's Beyond the Gates episode looks like it's setting up several storylines that could collide in a really interesting way. What caught my attention first is Kat. At this point, everyone knows she's obsessed with true crime podcasts, and it feels like she can't resist chasing a mystery whenever one appears. To me, it almost seems inevitable that all of these investigations will eventually inspire her to launch a true crime podcast of her own. This time, Kat turns her attention to Randy. After she, Naomi, and Chelsea were discussing Haley's mysterious past and the man they believed was named Sammy, Danny quickly corrected them and revealed that his real name is Randy. That small correction suddenly made Randy seem much more important. Now Kat is secretly watching him, and I can't help wondering if she's about to uncover his connection to Joey Armstrong. If that happens, it could open the door to an even bigger mystery than anyone expected. I may be wrong, but it feels like Randy has been hiding far more than we've been told. While Kat is busy investigating, Haley appears to make a surprising move toward Chelsea and Naomi. Bill was clearly unhappy with how she handled their unexpected visit, so maybe she's trying to repair the damage and convince them she's making an effort. The problem is that the relationship between Haley and Bill's daughters already seems beyond repair. Chelsea and Naomi don't trust her, and they believe she's bad news for their father. Even if Haley genuinely wants peace, I don't think she'll receive a warm welcome. Instead, this encounter could easily make her even more suspicious that they're working against her. Another storyline that stands out is Bill's declining health. For a while now, he's been pretending everything is fine, refusing to admit that his condition is getting worse. But it finally looks like reality is catching up with him. What surprises me is that instead of turning to the people closest to him, his wife, daughters, or even his ex-wife, he chooses to confide in someone unexpected. That decision alone makes me curious. If I had to guess, Joey Armstrong could be the person Bill reaches out to. Despite their complicated history, they've developed a reluctant respect for one another. And sometimes those unlikely alliances become the strongest during a crisis. Elsewhere, Vanessa and Danny join Anita to compare notes, which makes me think several characters are slowly piecing together different parts of the same puzzle. The show has been leaning heavily into characters sharing information lately, and that usually means multiple storylines are getting ready to converge. The biggest surprise, though, is Mona's interaction with Joey. According to the spoilers, she hustles him, and that immediately raises questions. Mona knows Joey has a shady reputation, so it doesn't seem like she'd approach him without a very good reason. I was wondering if this could somehow connect back to Kat's investigation. Maybe Kat realizes she needs someone who can distract Joey while she keeps an eye on Randy, and Mona becomes part of that plan. That's only speculation, but it would tie several storylines together in a way that feels natural. Overall, I think this episode is less about huge revelations and more about setting important pieces into place. Kat's investigation into Randy could expose Joey's hidden connections. Bill's health crisis may force him into an unexpected alliance. Haley's attempt to improve her relationship with Chelsea and Naomi could easily backfire. And Mona's surprising move against Joey feels like it has a larger purpose that hasn't been revealed yet. Whether these suspicions turn out to be right or completely wrong, it definitely feels like Monday's episode is laying the groundwork for much bigger drama ahead. I think next week could be one of the biggest weeks Beyond the Gates has delivered in a while, especially when it comes to Andre. For about a week now, Danny's mysterious gift, the expensive bottle of champagne, has been hanging over the story like a dark cloud. Ever since it arrived, Andre hasn't looked like himself. To me, he's acting like someone who knows a secret is about to come crashing into his life. That's why I've had a feeling the champagne was never really about the gift itself. It felt more like a warning. Someone wanted Andre to know they could reach him whenever they wanted, and judging by his reaction, whoever sent it knows something he desperately wants to keep hidden. The weekly spoilers for August 3rd through August 7th seem to back that up. Everything points toward Andre's carefully protected past finally catching up with him. If that happens, we may finally learn who sent the champagne and why they chose this moment to make their move. Monday starts with several storylines moving forward. Bill confides in an unlikely ally. Kat keeps an eye on Randy. Haley surprises Chelsea and Naomi. Danny and Vanessa compare notes with Anita. And Mona continues working her angle with Joey. On Tuesday, Haley is forced to change course after Bill shares a health update. Naomi begins snooping, Chelsea gathers information from Caroline, and Kat attempts to recruit Tomas for help. Elsewhere, Kyle surprises Nicole, Leslie gets to know Noah, and Jacob's advice inspires Isaiah to try a different approach. Wednesday brings even more drama. Leslie publicly humiliates Nicole in front of Carlton. Tyrell's plan completely falls apart. Anita gives one of her daughters a deadline. Vernon meets with Isaiah, and Eva receives devastating news. Then comes Thursday, which I think could be the turning point of the entire week. Danny rattles Randy, Bill, and Chelsea clash over Haley. Leslie and Ted continue their conflict over Eva, and most importantly, Andre's past finally catches up with him. That single spoiler feels like the payoff to weeks of suspense surrounding the mysterious champagne. Friday suggests the fallout is only beginning. Haley gets what she wants. Bill is forced to rely on Caroline during a crisis. Ted tries to comfort his devastated daughter. Joey's sister forms a connection with Danny and Vanessa, and Andre turns to Smitty for help.